there, friend, and welcome aboard! Stu Black here, HomeStudioBasics.com, and today we will be reviewing...
Oh my god, a $4,000 set of headphones!
These babies, the Focal Utopias, are 4 big ones, and we'll find out if they deliver up to the hype. These are circumaural with an 80 ohm impedance and a sensitivity of 104 decibels per milliwatt, frequency response of 5 Hz to 50,000 kilohertz, a 40 millimeter pure beryllium M-shaped dome. They come in at £1, and they have a cable length of way too long.
Way too long.
No, 13 feet. 13 feet with a 1/4 inch jack. You'll want to plug these into higher end gear. Even at 80 ohms, the cable is just so bulky, but we'll get into that in a second. So,
Whoops.
got the pen behind my ear because I took a copious amount of notes for this one. So, comfort. Woo! These babies are really, really comfortable. So, yeah, there's so many materials I had to write them down. Thanks to Tyler and Fidelity. Materials: lambskin leather, which is here. Oh my gosh, they feel so amazing. Like, I was at my parents' house, just sitting there going like this, and like just marveling at how like they just feel. So you just want to sit there and just do this for like an hour. So yeah, lambskin leather, memory foam underneath there, carbon fiber. So these are carbon fiber right here. A beryllium driver, like I said, a little bit of plastic, black anodized aluminum right around here where the driver is. Well, the driver's inside, but you know, the enclosure. Black metal mesh, which is of course what makes them open, and brushed aluminum, somewhere on there. So anyway, take this off. Comfort is
Spectacular.
I've demoed these on a couple different occasions now and haven't had to take them off once. In fact, even if I think about the fact that they're on my head, they still don't become uncomfortable. That's how comfortable these are. I mean, they're fairly heavy. Not as heavy as like an Odyssey, any of the LCDs really. LCD3, LCDX, LCDXC, LCD2, LCD 5000, no. The clamp force is just perfect. And like if you went like this, they might slide off, but they won't slide off as easy as an LCD. I just love the way they feel. The ear cup enclosures are large enough, and they kind of mimic the shape of an ear a little bit. Your ears are way far enough away from the driver, which is good. And they just enclose just perfectly. And they sit on your head very nicely. That you kind of look like a nerd with them, but whatever. You shouldn't be roaming around outside with these babies on, walking your dog. Yeah, comfort, phenomenal, A+, a number 1 for comfort. That's all I have to say about that. Build is phenomenal. Tile said they kind of make this creaking sound a little bit, but he attributed that to just the A+ materials really, and I think he knows more about it than me. Before I even saw his review, I was kind of concerned about the noise that they make. But after watching his video review, I kind of put my mind at ease a little bit. They have these nice adjustments here. Feels solid as a rock. The cups do not rotate inward or outward. They do rotate a little bit this way. Enough to get a comfortable fit on your melon. Wait, were we talking about build? Build! The only thing I don't like about the build is the cable is just so ridiculously long, cumbersome, thick. Like a snake. In fact, it's so heavy that plugged into my Magni, the cord actually pulls the Magni off of, like I have it stacked on the Modi. It actually pulls the Magni off of the Modi, or it's just like... And I have to put my Samson CO1, aka barbell, on top just to hold it in place. So, like Tile said, that's a little bit of an issue, and it will be for most people. It's a fantastic 1/4 inch termination though. The only problem is just it's really heavy. These resemble Mini XLR, but according to him, they're called Limo. Just make sure that there's a little tiny R and L on each of these. Just make sure you line them up with the proper, on the proper side. So here's right, R, R, and you would just line up the red dot. And it clicks right in, and you would just do that with the other side too. So, how do they sound? I'm gonna flip back into my handy dandy notebook and tell you all about them. This is my second time taking them home from Audio Advice. If there's one thing I can say about these is that they reveal details on an unheard of level. And so say you have doorway 1, doorway 2, and doorway 3. So doorway 1 represents the stuff that you will always hear on the surface of a song, stuff that you're familiar with in music that you've heard 1,000 times. Door 2 represents like a HD 600, Hi-Fi Man 400i, stuff in that price range, 400S, 650, K702, Q701. So door 2 represents even more details, but not 100% of the details. But what the Utopia does is it reveals everything to a degree that's simply unbelievable. I mean, think of the artists that are kind of lesser known than the main ones. So for Pink Floyd, that'd be Richard Wright, the keyboardist, and Tony Kaye, the keyboardist for Starship Trooper. And when you have a pair of headphones like the Utopias, those guys come to the forefront more so than guys like Steve Howe or David Gilmour for Pink Floyd, Roger Waters. The keyboardists and the organs and all the stuff that you previously couldn't really make out start to become more fleshed out in the mix, a lot more revealing, a lot more textured. Stuff going on behind the scenes. So the Utopia represents door 3, as I was saying, where you've got everything brought to the forefront. Well, not to the forefront, but you're able to hear that stuff that's layered behind the rest of the sounds. And what I love about the Utopia is not only does it reveal these details, but the imaging is spot on. The detail, texture, accuracy is also spot on. You're also able to understand vocals a lot better. Not 100%, like I'm still not able to hear everything, but I would say 85-90% of vocals I'm able to hear. The bass is crisp, tight, digs down. It's not a bass head headphone, but it's getting there. It's sort of not too light and not too heavy. It's just right. Reminds me a lot of an LCD-X, a Hi-Fi Man Edition X, but better. You know what I mean? Like for $4,000, it better be. But I would say these things deliver on all fronts, and there's no real glaring flaws with them. The treble, it's a bit darker. I mean, they're relatively flat and balanced. I think there's a little bit of a bump in the upper mids, I believe, around 1 or 2K. And then, the treble rolls off a little bit, but you can't, these headphones are never going to be really fatiguing. Cymbals, hi-hats are all rendered extremely natural. Excellent timbre, especially for hi-hats and cymbals. Separation of voices is spectacular. I wrote down the theme seems to be vocals and instruments are forward. Bass is very articulate and deep, but controlled, with an incredible sense of space and depth. So like the door 3 I was talking about, the depth, you could start to hear stuff behind stuff, but it comes through in a way that demands your attention, if that makes sense. So Tony Kaye, his organ becomes extremely pleasurable to listen to. There's just a lot of little stuff, even more so that you can hear than a door 2 type of headphone, and that's why they're priced so high, because they do provide you with that, but they also provide you with an overall enjoyable listening experience. Yeah, this is like an Edition X on steroids, probably with more bass. I think the Edition X's are a lot more laid back, whereas these are a little bit more intense. You got that sense of the crescendo where the music was building up to basically fireworks before it got to part 2, which is just the acoustic. I would describe it as like a flower just blooming into just this
Orgasm.
of goodness. Soundstage, I wouldn't call it really, really wide or anything like that, but still pretty good. You will need an amp, but I wouldn't recommend trying to plug these into like a portable amp DAC. I would definitely recommend a desktop solution. Audio Advice used to have the Bryston, which is like a $1,300 amp, and it's absolutely stupendous. I would have loved to use the Name DAC V1 or Bryston BHA1 to get a true sense of how these sound, but I think the Magni I mean, they sounded incredible on the Magni, so maybe it doesn't really make too much of a difference. But yeah, that's the Focal Utopia. I hope you've enjoyed this review. Please don't forget to like, comment, dislike, subscribe to my growing channel, and as I could really use your support. So until next time, bye.